I'll have to admit that my flower game hasn't been that strong this year. I've kind of devoted a lot of my garden space and resources to trialing a lot of new vegetable varieties, and then turn around here and then realize, man, I kind of been slacking on the flowers a little bit. I mean, we've did okay. We've got these giant sunflowers here that are loaded down with blooms. Loaded down so much that the tops are kind of leaning over on them. We've got our marigold sparky mix here we planted early spring. Some of these are starting to look a little pitiful, but they're hanging on, still making some nice blooms and doing their job as far as a natural pest deterrent. And we've got our sunflower cover crop here with our joker sunflowers and our chocolate cherry, and then that lacy phacelia that we showed you on our previous video that we've planted in between those rows. But here it is, almost the end of July, and I just realized I have yet to plant any zinnias, or zinnias as some people call them. But that's about to change today. So I've got my little spot carved out here in one of my 6 plots in the dream garden. This is where we were doing a lot of bean succession planting in the spring on into early summer. We've got our half runner beans out of here. Got this nice and cleaned up. On this side of the plot, we've got these canary melons that we planted as kind of a mid to late summer project. They're holding on okay considering how hot and how dry it's been, and I think we're even starting to get a few little melons on here. There's one right there. Haven't had much issues with powdery mildew. This is a powdery mildew resistant variety. Starting to see a little bit of downy mildew. We've been trying to keep them sprayed with a fungicide, so but for the most part this variety has done really good for us, growing it in the heat of summer like this. So we've got this on one half of the plot. This other half here is where we're going to get some zinnias down today. So in my opinion, zinnias along with sunflowers are probably the easiest flowers to grow in the vegetable garden. So usually the maturity date on zinnias is around 75 days or so. Here in South Georgia in zone 8B, we're at the end of July. Our first frost at the earliest will be end of November, early December. So we still have got August, September, October, and November, 4 months. So approximately 120 days, plenty of time to get a good crop of zinnias in and get them blooming good. They'll start blooming a little earlier than this 75-day maturity date this time of year because we're growing them in this extreme heat, and they'll slow down a little bit as we go into fall, but we should get some really nice blooms, and these things will bloom and grow all the way up till our first frost date. Now if you like transplanting, zinnias work really well when transplanted. Today I'm just going to direct seed these because I don't have any transplants ready, but we do oftentimes transplant them, and that gives you a little more consistent spacing. I don't always put them on drip, but I've got drip run on these canary melons here, and so I've already got a piece of a main line right here that we're going to use. I just need to kind of fold it back out here and run it along the side of this plot, and we can use this existing main line here to put 2 rows. I think we're just going to put 2 rows in here. 2 rows of zinnias on drip, some double rows here. I've got some holes in here I can use. Holes already in my main line. You see a goof plug there. I ran out of goof plugs, so I just used a row start valve there. So I've got some holes I can play with here as far as my spacing goes, and we'll get some drip tape down here, and then we'll be ready to plant some double rows of zinnias direct seeding. All right. We got our drip tape down and buried. We got 2 rows here. Now you can plant these things pretty close, but they will bush out a little bit. So I'm going to give them plenty of room here so I can get in here and weed between these two rows. You can plant them on single rows, but I like to plant them on double rows. Just get a nice big dense row of zinnias there. So you can see where our tape is there in the middle. And we got two little mini furrows on each side of the tape, one here and one here. So we're going to plant along there. I've got 4 different varieties I'm going to plant. So I'm going to do half a row of each variety, half a double row of each variety, and that will take up these 2 double rows here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come in the middle here, just approximately. Doesn't have to be exact. And I'm just going to put me a little mark right here so I know kind of where to split my seed in half as far as switching over to the next variety. And we'll do the same thing on the other side here. Just make us a mark somewhere in the middle, and then we can plant one variety on this side of the double row, one variety on this side of the double row, same thing over here. Let's go and see what kind of varieties we're going to be planting today. So as I mentioned, we got 4 different varieties here we're going to be planting. Let's start off with this guy here, the Binary Giant Zinnia Mix. This is probably the most popular zinnia out there. These Binary zinnias just get huge, nice big old blooms on these guys. And this is a mix of several different colors: orange, yellow, pink, red. One of them's called wine. You get a few of the whites in there. We have these in 50 seed packets, 250 seed packets, and I think 1,000 seed packets. So you can get as many as you need there. So we're going to plant half a double row of those. We always grow those every year. Really like the Binary Giants. They make really good cut flowers too. Nice strong stems. You can cut them, take them inside, put them in a vase. The other one here is called the Cactus Mix. This is another zinnia. The petals on these are a little bit curled, so just a little different look than these guys. And the colors are, I would say, a little more pastel than these guys. These are pretty bright, vibrant colors. These are a little more toned down, but I've grown this before. I really like this mix. These other 2 here are new varieties or mixes that we just brought on this year. This one here is called Ice Queen Zinnia. Makes a nice little kind of pink to white petal there, or bloom. So we're going to grow half a double row of those. And this one right here, my favorite 2 colors of zinnias are the white and the lime. You don't get the lime in this mix here. You do get a few of the whites. This mix is just white and lime colored zinnia. So really like this mix. We call it the Key Lime Pie Zinnia Mix. So we're going to plant half a double row of each of these guys and plant them pretty thick. Now these zinnia seeds are pretty awkwardly shaped and kind of papery, and that's why we can't really plant them with a mechanical planter. We either have to transplant them or plant them by hand, but just for what we're doing here, it won't take long at all. So what we're going to do is we just want to kind of scatter them liberally along these little mini furrows here. You can probably plant these things as close as a couple inches apart. We just want to scatter them along here and make sure we get a nice dense row. We can always come back in here and thin them out if we plant them a little too thick, but we want to make sure we get a good stand here along this double row. And once we got our seeds in the furrow, then we'll just take our garden right here and just very lightly cover these things. They don't have to be planted deep at all. So we just want to barely put a little bit of soil on top of them, and then I'll take the rake like this and tamp that double row down. So we'll get some good seed to soil contact and get some good germination there. All right. So if you're like me and you just love coming out to the garden and standing out here and watching the bees, the butterflies, the pollinators, and all the beneficial insects just do their thing, you got to be growing some zinnias in your vegetable garden. You can plant these things on any scale. You can plant them in a little pot, you can plant them in a raised bed or in-ground garden like we have here. So if you've got at least 3 months before your first frost date in the fall, still got plenty of time to get some of these babies in the ground, get them up, get them nice and blooming there. Like I said, it's going to feed those pollinators, going to bring in some beneficial insects, and it's also going to give you some cut flowers. You can cut them, take them inside, make some nice pretty displays for inside. You can, you know, share them with your friends. Everybody loves a nice fresh bouquet of cut flowers. I'll put some links below to all these great zinnia varieties we planted today, so you can go check those out and get some for your garden. If you enjoyed this video, give me a big thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. Also hit that bell button down below so you get notified every time we come out with a new video. And if you enjoyed this video, check out these other 2 videos I did on zinnias and other flowers in the garden in the past. We'll see you next time.